We are now live on our YouTube channel, and we are going to begin our AGM. So, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to you, dear ICOM-UMAC community on Zoom and on YouTube. It is really my pleasure and honor to welcome you to the 20th UMAC annual meeting, the first ever in 20 years of existence to be broadcasted, to be held and broadcasted digitally. I'm very grateful for your time and your contribution to the life of UMAC, especially now in times of such crisis and uncertainty. Friends, it's not exaggerated to say it has become, in fact, a cliche that we are going through a global economic, social, and political crisis, largely unforeseen in its details, but certainly bearing a major and long-lasting impact on our two main spheres of operation, higher education and the culture sector. Universities all over the world are struggling with drastically reduced sources of private and public income, reduced student numbers, particularly international, research plans canceled or put on indefinite hold, protests from students due to unequal access to online teaching, and I could go on and on. In the museum sector, the situation varies considerably from country to country, as we saw in our webinars, but the impact is also very significant. Some museums are reopening carefully, others remain in lockdown, while others have opened and then went back into lockdown. All studies seem to indicate that when museums have reopened, visitors are not coming back in masses, partly because of the decline in tourism numbers, but most likely because they do not have enough confidence in the health situation just yet. A recent study by the American Alliance of Museums suggests that 1/3 of museums in the USA may never reopen again. What will happen to their collections, their staff, their legacy, their social and cultural roles in their communities? How many of them will be university museums? These are all unanswered questions at this point. On top of this, there is suffering, there is grief, there is poverty, unemployment, social unrest, incompetent or unable governments in many countries, and an alarming discredit of science, research, and reason. All things that we, as individual citizens, as museums, and as universities, must be prepared to fight. What is our role in UMAC? Well, first, we need to remain attentive to our colleagues around us and across the world, and attentive to society around us. In true fairness, we're going through such an extraordinary interruption to life that this is the most important, to be attentive and stay supportive. It's up to us. We're here now as UMAC in our universities, and there is no one else. Second, I think that we need to believe university museums and collections, large and small, can make a difference in a necessarily increasingly digital post-COVID world, and also considerably contribute to the added value our universities are now seeking in order to attract students and remain socially relevant. We have the tools, the creativity, and the capacity to do it. To play these two roles, we need to be more united, get together, and share even more among ourselves. This is what I hope for this year. On top of the COVID crisis, let me just admit more people. On top of the COVID crisis, you may have heard that ICOM is also going through an internal crisis following the perplexing resignation of ICOM's president, Sui Aksoy. I will not use our AGM to comment on the ICOM situation, but I will just say 3 notes. First, ICOM is very big, difficult to change, and it can be frustrating at times. Second, After some initial confusion, which is partly natural, and vigorous calls for transparency, all documents related to the crisis have been released to all ICOM members in their internal membership spaces. Resignation letters, meeting minutes, everything. Third, last Friday, ICOM held its annual General Assembly, and I'm convinced that there is a candid motivation for change and action. We need to remain attentive also to this and contribute whenever we feel necessary on behalf of the University Museum global community. So after this quite long introduction, let's start. But first, some housekeeping formalities. You may be asking why. You may be asking why this AGM requires registration while our previous ones were open to everyone, okay? So technically, this is an open AGM too. To facilitate voting, there are only UMAC members. I'm terribly sorry for all the inconvenience of emails back and forth, having to validate membership. And I appreciate very much the patience that you had, and also the help that our secretary, Wenjia, has been providing us. The second is that UMAC bylaws do not contemplate online meetings, okay? Next year in Dresden, we will propose a change in our bylaws in order to contemplate that, in order to change it. But this meeting is not illegal, okay? Given the pandemic, French nonprofits, ICOM included, were allowed to hold their AGMs online if done before the end of this month. So we're benefiting from that opportunity. Finally, the final housekeeping topic. Another thing that we do not have in the bylaws is explicit quorum for AGMs. This was not a problem in the past because we did not have that many members and always a large attendance in annual conferences. And also quorum is problematic for international committees in ICOM, but okay, but even considering that. However, now we have seen a significant increase in membership in the past years, and with online meetings, we have to address this in the bylaws too, I think, next year. In any case, and for the record, for the minutes, let us consider that I'm now formally adjourning this AGM, followed by a second call. So we're now holding the 20th annual general meeting of UMAC at the second convening with no quorum requirements. So, dear friends, let's go. I had prepared for this annual general meeting a beautiful, beautiful polls, beautiful, voting so that you could vote, like on a click and so on, but it did not happen. So when I entered and joined the meeting, there was no polls anywhere. So I must have done something wrong. I'm sorry. So we will have to vote by hands, okay? So which is normal. Maybe we will do like this. We will. Oh, first, let's approve the agenda, okay? So that's the first thing. We have an agenda that is called to order and adoption, online proceedings and voting, approval of AGM Minutes 2019 Kyoto, the President's report, the revised budget 2020, activities 2020, this is very important for us, our journal UMAC-J, and upcoming conferences next year in Dresden, and we have to vote for Sydney 2023, and then the end. So, since there's no poll, what I suggest is there any objection to this agenda? If not, then we consider it approved and we move on. So no objections, let's continue. I see in chat there's something. Oops. Thank you. Okay. If there's something, I cannot pay attention to the chat all the time. So I would ask somebody of the board, maybe the secretary, or maybe Wenjia, tell me if there's something that I should pay attention in the chat, because there's too many things going on my screen at the moment. So online procedures and voting. So you have to identify yourself in the chat. First name, last name, institution. You mute yourself. This is the Zoom rule. Mute yourself when you're not talking. Raise your hand if you want to speak. If you speak, be brief. Use the chat at any moment for questions and comments, and it will be saved and annexed to the minutes. All voting is made through Zoom polling. I wished. No, that's not true. And voting is anonymous. I wish to. It's not anonymous. It's with your thing, with your hands. But yeah, that's what I'm sorry for this technical thing. So the first thing we need to approve, the minutes were provided to you beforehand as required by the bylaws, is the minutes of the last annual general meeting, which was held in Kyoto 2019. Any objections to the minutes? No. Then it's considered approved. We move on. The president's report was also provided, point 3 of the agenda. I will not go through it a lot, but I will say a few things. I will highlight one or two things that I find important. So the first thing of the report is the incredible decline in membership that we have at this point in ICOM, okay? So last year we had 543, now we have 265, and also institutional members, we came down from 95 to 30, okay? So these are numbers. You have to understand one thing that I find important for everyone, especially those that are not members and are following us on YouTube. How is this thing processed? When you become an ICOM member or when you pay your annual fee, you pay not to us, not to UMAC. UMAC has absolutely no control, does not receive any money. It receives indirectly, okay? But you pay to your national committee of your country. And it's only later that that money is transferred to Paris and then to us. So there's a delay, natural delay. Apart from the fact that some people do not pay at the beginning of the year. They may pay, for example, now, or they may be paying in, I don't know, September. In fact, with the COVID and the crisis, the economic crisis, many people are not traveling, so they may even consider not paying this year the annual fee. So there's lots of factors that can interfere in and justify these low numbers, which I consider provisional, non-updated. Another factor is that we usually have our annual meeting in the third quarter of the month, and we're having it now a little bit earlier. So not every member is processed yet, I would assume. And also that, has increased the complication with the validation, because many of you were not, many of you, we know you paid, but because you told us, you were not registered in the ICOM database. So this is an important thing for the record, although I consider these numbers provisional. And in fact, all numbers are provisional until 31 December of each year. That's when the numbers become official, okay? Any questions about this point? If not, then we move on. Another highlight. Yeah, it's true what Lyndall said, that many members do not become affiliated with an international committee. But that's a different problem altogether. That's a problem that we all need to contribute to increase the percentage of affiliation with international committees in ICOM. Okay, so I move on to the next, I'm admitting, yeah, to the next point, which is one of the few things we actually did as a, well, we were elected, I should have said that, you know, but I should have said that. And by the way, I thank all the previous board members, and also I thank this, new board, everyone, for their service. But one of the few things we had time to do actually was the strategic plan. So we defined for 2019, 2022, it was actually approved in one of our board meetings in January, 3 axes. One is always the same, you know, it has been constant. It's part of actually ICOM's also strategic plan, increase UMAC's and ICOM's global visibility. So we want more members, we want UMAC to be better known, and that's our first axis. Then we also want to do 2 different things, you know, from the usual axis of, you know, dissemination, improving sharing among members and so on. We want to look into a small window. It's a rather small window, but maybe not, it depends. We still need to go through this, examine and explore dimensions of the ICOM's code of ethics related to university museums and collections. Some of them have already been covered in the past evaluation and examination of revision of the ICOM code of ethics. But in particularly, I'm thinking of medical collections, because ICOM does not have an international committee for medical collections. And so, and most medical collections are in universities. I feel that there is, you know, there is material there to have a look at how those collections are generated, are managed, conflicts with other codes of ethics of practitioners and so on. So that's one of the things we want to look and this during this period. Another thing we also want to look, and this is very important for us, not so much for the museum sector in general, but for us and for our main stakeholders, which are the higher education sector, is to increase university museums and collections recognition in the higher education section. In a way, we are already recognized, or at least we are much better recognized than we were 20 years ago in the museum sector. The museum sector looks at us, they consider university museums, we have collaboration projects and so on and so forth. A dimension that we still need to explore is how to become more recognized in universities. So that's one of our axes of work for the next, we propose to do for the next 2 years, 3 years. Any questions? Okay, another highlight that I would like to you know, share with you is this fantastic experience that has been for me personally too, of the UMAC webinars, that we had 5 webinars in June and July. So the last one was this month, 3rd July, 2020, totaling 11 hours of videos, very much informal, casual. People, you know, just, there were no registration in the sense, there were registration in the sense that we didn't want to have 200 people. So we kept the registration low, but there were no registration in terms of peer review, you know, submission papers and so on, nothing, you know, you just presented whatever you want, you talked about what you wanted to do, whatever. And the idea was to be together. And it was really important, I think. And also the surveys that we conducted afterwards demonstrate that there was, it started during lockdown actually, and there was a need for people to share, to be together, even sometimes some emotions that you had, absolutely. And so we had 285 participants from 21 countries, 2 editions per day. For example, I separated here, 94% participants were satisfied or very satisfied. 88% of participants found the webinars very useful. Some comments that people made. why were they important, to get insights from colleagues all over the world and how they were dealing with this situation, because this is a moment when all museums have to pivot, and hearing from colleagues around the world is helpful to imagine different possibilities and directions. We're dealing with the same problems, and I'm not getting any feedback from people in my immediate surroundings. Knowing that there are other people concerned is important. Of course, we are very much under pressure to continue these webinars, to progress to the second series of the webinars, and there are already some topics suggested: collections online, the education activities online, of course, the digital tops everything, every other suggestion, but also non-COVID topics like, for example, restitution, stakeholders, exhibitions, and so on. Another very important highlight that I would like to address and share with you is that we've been talking for years about this problem of Africa. We don't have many members in Africa. We have almost, I don't know, I think we have 1 or 2 members in Africa altogether. And so we've been talking about that, but fortunately, we had a member, we had a museum professional from South Africa, Sian Tiley-Nel, and I think she's here. And I will ask her also to share 1 or 2 minutes the importance that this was, because for UMAC, it was super, super important to have the opportunity to bring professionals from South Africa university museums, fabulous university heritage they have, and to bring them all together from different disciplines, different universities, and have a meeting on Zoom, of course, with them. It was incredibly rewarding, and I just hope that this will continue. I will give, Sian, are you there? You are, aren't you?
Yes, I'm here, thank you.
Tell us a little bit, share a little bit with the assembly.
Can you
what
all
you
hear
thought
me?
about the meeting.
Can you hear me, Marta?
I can.
Okay. No, thank you very much, colleagues. I echo Marta's sentiments about getting Africa into UMAC. It's been very rewarding after meeting everybody last year for the first time in Kyoto. We had 34 members attend, or 34 interested parties attend, 8 major universities. And I currently have a network of about 40 practitioners and professionals across South Africa. And of course, this has an ability to filter to our other countries bordering South Africa, as well as more into Africa. I think Africa has an important role to play. We hold some of the world's greatest collections, fossils, a lot about humanity's origins lie within South Africa's responsibilities. And there's been great interest. We have the same problem that you echo, in the sense that we have ICOM SA members, but they don't understand that UMAC is a subcommittee. So we're hoping that that will escalate probably in 2021, because people obviously are not paying their memberships now. Mm-hmm. But we have a commitment from many South Africans to join UMAC. We're very keen to join the global community, and it's been very, very helpful. And the University of Pretoria just would like to thank UMAC and the board and everyone for their support for us to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Sian. It was really special. I don't know if there's anyone else here from South Africa. No? Okay, you are a very good representative. You're fine. But yeah, I just hope that the network continue, and I really do look forward to visit physically, physically, because it's been a dream even before I knew UMAC existed, to visit all those beautiful paleontology and archaeology collections in South Africa. So it's really very much on the top of my list as soon as we can fly normally. I don't know if we can fly normally ever, but anyway. So another, thank you so much. Another highlight, but I would give in third person, is the UMAC Futures. We have a working group that I find terrific, and the chair, one of the chairs, because they have 3 chairs. One of the chairs is here, I hope. Where are you, Hakim? Hakim, are you there?
Hello. Yes,
Oh, there you are. From Canberra. Canberra, or is it Melbourne?
Yes. Canberra.
Canberra. Tell us what you did this year, Hakim.
Well, we've had an interesting year in Australia, coming off the very interesting summer that we had. And then the pandemic happened. And then my Australian colleagues will know that the impending changes to higher education. So unfortunately, my mind has been focused on different things, but we've planned a lot of things this year. One of them was like the workshop for the conference, which is unfortunately on hold. So, and then Talca has also disseminated a version of the UMAC app, which I'm sure some of you have fiddled earlier in this year. And also we had sort of a spin-off group that went off on Zoom and had discussions about COVID and, you know, how it affects emerging professionals and stuff like that. So unfortunately, not many things happened, but some things happened. So, you know, got to keep moving. So that's my little short report.
Yeah, and there is a show, if you want to know more about the UMAC futures, you can always go to the President's report and also to our website, because they have some information there, and you can contact Hakim and Michelle and Zhao Ke, who are the three co-chairs of this group. So yeah, it's been difficult for everyone, but really hang on in there and do things. You can still do the workshop and things. Okay, so let's do it. Any questions for anyone really? Hakim, me, we're in the topic of the President's report. There's something else that I would like to highlight, but I will give the floor to Steph Scholten, because we won later, because we won a project submitted by him. He's the chair, but it has more partners, about restitution and repatriation and the ethics implication. It has to do with our axis of the strategic plan. So we won a grant from ICOM, and he will talk about it in a minute. He's Steph Scholten. So if there are no more questions, then what I suggest and I propose is that we vote the President's report. Any objections to the President's report? I should ask also any abstentions. If none, then it's approved, and we move on to, let me share the screen again, to the next point of our agenda, which is the budget. And so I will ask Nathalie Nyst, our treasurer, to present us what we did and what money did we spend, which practically nothing. But in any case, she will tell us about it. Nathalie, are you there?
At least I will try to do it. Do you hear me?
Oh, you are in Cuba or some tropical island.
Yes, I dream of that. So,
Nathalie, please go ahead.
In fact, we decided with the board to not prepare a financial report for 2020 because, as you know, there were no many expenses, at least maybe only some in January, but it was to pay some invoices from 2019. So the report is the same as in Kyoto for now. So at the end of the year, I suggest to do an actualized one, but it's not really useful by now. So we prepare a revised budget post-COVID-19. So Marta, you can put the next slide if you want. Thank you. So you see the balance at the end of last year was about 20,000 euros. And
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and then it's more because we have got many money from much money from ICOM, as you see on the screen. The annual subsidy was the amount is explained by the fees of the members, but also because UMAC got an award thanks to the fact it was one of the 3 best performing international committees on last year. So congratulations to all of you for this. So this award was around 2,066 euros. So we have got also the travel grant for a young member, but of course it will not be used this year, so it will be put on next year. But I have to check with ICOM committee if they will add another one more on last year, so we can dream too. And then we have got for the special project, Steph will talk about it later, the amount of 4,800 euros. So we have got about 16,000 euros more. So the account, the bank account now is more than 34,000 euros.
Crazy.
We should
spend it. We must spend it. We're a non-profit. We need your suggestions.
Yes.
How to use this money.
So
wisely, of course, wisely.
Just to explain the small expenditure we had for the first 6 months of this year. So you have some travels, but as I explained before, those travels were in 2019. But we had to pay them on last January. And for me, on this year, we just spent something like 20 cents for the bank expenses. That's it for the moment. So less than 2,000 euros for this year on this day. But we have some, of course, expenditure expected. As you can see on the screen, for the PIMUS program, so the special program project we had last year, we have still a survey and data treatment to lead. So we have 800 euros for this. Some bank expenses, but it will be less than this because I'm sure we will not have many expenses many money to give in other countries, because that's what is. C'est ce qui coûte le plus cher. Marta, I cannot say that in English. Okay. So we have UMAC-G 12 to be produced. So somebody from Mexico will be paid for that, but it will be a travel. And then we will have the UMAC Award 2020, but the recipient will be known on September. Marta will talk about that later, I think.
Yeah.
So we have got that special project, and we are supposed to expend all the amount of money this year. So Steph will manage this. Good luck, Steph, but I will be there to help you if you need. A publication on professionalizing museum work in higher education, an ebook. So for the design, we have provisionné, I don't know in English, 3,000 euros for this, and then a special brochure for the 20 years of UMAC in English, French, and Spain. So that's an important thing, because we missed a bit the 10 years of UMAC, so we have to do everything for the 20 years of UMAC, of course. And last, the transfer of UMAC database and website to private server, that will cost a bit of only 300 euros. So an expected total of about 16,000 euros. And that's it. We had formally preview some detailed expenses for the special project, but because of COVID, everything has been
reformulated. Yeah.
And then Steph and the team and the board have to think about that for the future. So if there is any question, I'm there.
Okay, so thank you so much, Nathalie. But just before that, and profiting, this is not an ambush, Beto Brandão. Okay, are you still there? It's because there is something called the Solidarity Fund that ICOM created, where, as
Yes.
far as I understood, all the money from traveling, you know, that was planned to be used will go there in order to help institutions or projects that, you know, to overcome the crisis. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? Because I think it's appropriate when we start deciding what to do with our money. Are you there, Beto?
Oh, yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you
you tell
for
us a little bit?
allowing. Yes. Well, this has been put forward by Emma Nardi, our treasurer, and she's the head of SAREC, and she created the solidarity projects, but they are still to be detailed. We don't know how, but we want to apply this money that has not been used by the membership to the membership. This amounts to 280,000 euros, and it will be spent this year on the membership, but we don't know exactly why this is to be spent. So we have to wait for Emma to detail and make the forms and things like that. But you can count on it.
Yeah, and I think it's a wonderful idea. A lot of our budget was also travel, because, you know, it's about traveling and so on, and giving grants to students and so on. So there will be a lot of money that will not be used, and we have to redirect to other activities. And of course, in my view, museums, university museums in our case, with difficulties, or that projects that, you know, are to promote, you know, the digital turn or whatever, I think are most important. And so it's a good way, if we can contribute. I don't know if the money is already, I don't know. But if we can contribute, or maybe ourselves, UMAC could create our own solidarity fund too.
But if you have ideas and proposals, please send them to Emma.
That's very good. That's a very
she
good.
will welcome suggestions for the use of this money also.
Yes, we will do that.
Yes.
Thank you. Note, and we will. Thank you so much, Carlos. And so basically, we removed everything that we had. This budget had already been presented in Kyoto. It was more or less what we wanted to plan, what we were planning, but we removed the travel. We added something that gives more dignity to the commemoration of the 220 years of UMAC, and so and I will put this budget to vote on the condition that, or rather, for the records, for the minutes, if more suggestions come to use in projects, collaborations, more webinars, more resources for the community, then of course we will revisit this budget and you know, and do it, because we really think that it's an important moment to help and to show solidarity and to share our knowledge. So I will now, if there are any questions for Nathalie, for me, or Beto, or whatever, especially Nathalie and me. If not, then I put this to vote. Any objections? Anything on chat? I think not.
Yes, I am the most successful UMAC treasurer ever.
You are, you definitely are. Thank you so much, Nathalie, for putting up this.
Thank you,
and we move on to the next point. Thank you so much. And the next point is activities. So we're still discussing this. This is very much a work in progress. But as you noticed, the first activity is that you noticed that this was an AGM where we did not announce the winner of the UMAC Award. And that announcement will be made 28, the date is already scheduled, 28 September 2020. The format will still be decided and announced in due time, but this is the date. So we already actually have a UMAC Award 2020 winner. Only me and Akiko know, who is the winner. Right, Akiko? I profit to thank. Are you there? Or are you still there,
I'm
Akiko?
here. Yes, yes, I'm here.
I profit
Of course,
to
I'm
thank
here.
our wonderful, efficient, charismatic chair of the UMAC Award Committee for conducting all the evaluations and all the management of the applications with such grace. And
Thank you for the jury, the team.
Yeah, true. Considering, thank you also for the jury. And yeah, so we're going to announce it September 2020. But in coming days, we will know the 3 nominees. Okay, so we will know the 3 top projects that are eligible for the UMAC Award, and we will announce that in coming days. And the announcement itself will be preceded by conversations online between the 3 nominees and Akiko Fukuno, Andrew Simpson, and Steph Scholten on the weeks, every Monday before the day of the announcement. So that's one thing. The second thing is the webinar, second series. We're still listening to a lot of suggestions. Some people, if they have attended at least one webinar, they should go and fill in the survey, because that's very important for us to guide our directions in more in one direction and the other another direction. But we would like to have the second series of our webinars around November. Okay. Then it's important to say that ICOM is also hosting some webinars. The past one, ICOM, the central ICOM, has been organizing at least one webinar, and the next one is scheduled for 5 August, and it's about public and audiences of museums during the COVID situation. So that's an important thing to say. And also, most importantly, we would love to have, this is actually the 20th AGM. So 20 years ago, in 2001, I think 3 July or 8 July, I'm not entirely sure, but early July, in the General Conference of Barcelona, UMAC was created. So we're celebrating the 20th AGM today. I should have brought the champagne, but I should really. And we were hoping to commemorate next year 20 years of UMAC, okay? So next year in Dresden. But we will still do that, we hope. But we've been collecting a lot of information. I've been quite boring and quite insistent, I'm sorry. Especially with the first board, asking for photographs, asking for documentation, asking for Isabel, for example, Isabel Garcia Fernandez. She has provided me a lot of information because she's in Spain and she was in the local organizing committee. So we've been gathering information, documentation, resources that we hope to reunite in a nice publication, we call it, a brochure for the moment, but we hope to release it in Dresden next year. At the same time, I've been holding some interviews with the first board, and I hope to release that in October. And we will also, they don't know yet, huh? They are here. It's Cornelia Weber and Hugues Dressé. I would very much like to have an online conversation with you individually, with past chairs, just to, what's the difference, what was the issues, and so on. So I hope to have that, and I'm grateful in advance for your time to talk to me and in front of a large audience, so broadcasted and so on. So we will talk about it later after this, this week. And then we're also planning a debate about university museums and collections then and now, date to be announced too, and the composition too, the people who are going to speak also to be announced. So these are the things we want to do.
Marta, there is one question on the chat.
Yeah. Oh, there is one question. There's more than one question on the chats.
The one from Nicole. Nicole, transfer one.
Also to organize UMAC. Yeah, of course. I mean, look, since the beginning, for 20 years, UMAC has been active in stimulating local and regional and national networks that we have been supporting. And so suddenly there is, you know, during my mandate, I'm not entirely sure of the previous mandates of Cornelia and Hugues, but maybe they can talk about it actually. But during my mandate, we have stimulated a national meeting in Indonesia, for example. We have accompanied the meetings in Mexico of national networks and so on. So what you have to do, Isidro, is gather, you know, university museum and collection professionals from all disciplines all over the Philippines, and we do a Zoom meeting and start discussing things like we did with South Africa, okay? Fund, yeah, could be a proposal. I mean, we have to have some criteria, you know, but certainly like, or, you know, like we can consider that. We cannot travel. Well, funds for what exactly? I don't know. We would have to think about that. Right. I don't know if Cornelia would like to say something about networks and about national networks. Hugues, would you like to say something about national networks?
Well, what I can say that we really develop a lot, you know, with national networks. So sometimes with success, sometimes the people were tired, you know, so, and then we start again, for instance, in Colombia and so on. But yeah, that is something extremely important because let's remember, and in Barcelona, how many countries were present in UMAC, you know, very few. And so year by year, we gain, you know, new members and new countries. So that's definitely we have to support. And around, I don't know where is Isidro now because if he's still in Philippines, but we start some network. We had already, I participate some meeting, you know, in Taiwan, for instance, so people for the region. Is not easy, but we really need to support these people.
Yeah, and you know, UMAC, as it's, you know, has limited power. It's very limited power because what really makes the difference is the networks at micro local level, you know, the way that you get along and share your experiences and coordinate activities and in a certain context, geographical context, in a certain country, in a certain region, because although the landscape is pretty homogeneous, there's certain local considerations. For example, university museums in the US are different from university museums in Europe or Africa or China or, you know, and so it's very important that you organize yourselves. And then our role is to promote that, help enhance, contribute to funds, eventually to projects for, you know, give an international voice to those local networks. So yes, absolutely. And get in touch with me after this meeting, okay? And we will make that happen. If there are no more questions about these activities, but listen, I will be looking forward to your suggestions. It doesn't have to be now, but really, we are still discussing what to do this year in the context of, you know, the global situation. So let us know. And I would pass now the floor to finally our fantastic ICOM special projects, acronym UMAC-ER, the ethics of restitution and repatriation. And I would pass to our Vice President, Steph Scholten. Steph, please.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Good night for some of you. Very briefly, we put together a proposal for ICOM Special Projects Program because working in the UK and being from the Netherlands was an incredibly active discussion, like in many other countries, around repatriation of heritage objects from collections. And it was very interesting to see that actually in many places it was university museums taking the lead in those projects. And for me, and I discussed the idea with the board to see whether or not UMAC could show some leadership for the sector in this area. And we put together, we being myself, Nicole Crawford, Marta, Sebastian, and colleagues from ETHCOM, from the Standing Committee of for the Code of Ethics, as well as ICOM Australia, as well as ICME. We put together a project that we call the Ethics of Repatriation and Restitution. And it was to research and address issues of decolonization. And it was in general meant, or it is in general meant, to raise levels of awareness, expertise, and sensitivity, and to contribute to the body of knowledge around these issues in the wider community, museum community, and concretely have an output by drafting guidelines that can maybe complement the Code of Ethics and could look specifically at the position of collections in museums. All said and done, maybe Marta, you can go to the next page. Our methodology that we had planned was actually to use all the conferences that we all had planned, ICOM Australia, UMAC, the Museum Association here in the UK, ICME, to present this work as a work in progress at all these sessions, discuss it with membership and participants in conferences, and very importantly, bring voices of those people whose heritage is under discussion of repatriation or restitution. And so we had planned for Sydney 2020, for Edinburgh also this year, for ICME and Baku in October, to have sessions around this, and then already also at the Universum conference in Brussels. But of course, none of these conferences are taking place, at least not in a physical form. So we are now reconceptualizing these discussions, these sessions in an online form, most likely, because I don't think there will be any conference taking place physically this year. And from the input we get from that, we will start drafting guidelines. We'll consult around those guidelines and then start sharing the information that we've drafted and bring that into discussion in the different forums that we have. And then in the end result will now be presented in Dresden at the next combined UMAC Universum joint meeting. At least that's the plan. I need to talk to Nathalie, I think, because it means that we will not spend all funds from the grant this year, but also some next year. I don't know how that will break down exactly, but we'll see about that. I see that Sean from South Africa, she's offering her collaboration. She's mentioning that that there's new law being drafted in South Africa. The same is happening here in the UK. There is currently consultation on draft guidelines that have been written by the Institute for Art and Law. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion around those. And there's more initiatives. There's initiatives in the Netherlands as well that I know of, and I know Germany has published
Right.
around decolonization. France has published. So
the US too.
Yeah, and we'll bring all that information together.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole is looking at the NAGPRA rules in the US, which have been in place already for 20 years or so. And we'll bring that all together and hopefully come up with things that will be relevant for the sector.
Right. So what I think is very important, we don't have a website yet, but we will soon have of the project. So as soon as we have it more stabilized in terms of activities and in terms of dates, we will provide a website of the project for everyone. Until then, you should contact Steph Scholten in case you want to contribute, you have an idea, you know of some guidelines in some country that he doesn't know of, or because there's so many things happening. There's Brazil too. Brazil is also revising I think I've heard something. And so there's so many dimensions that can be explored here. And our intention with this project, which is really exciting, is to look into the university angle. Okay, so look into the university angle, both in terms of leadership, as Steph said, and in terms of outside the radar type of things, which is common in case of university museums and collections, because they stay usually outside the radar, and they shouldn't. And so that's the thing. Any questions for more direct questions to Steph? If not, then we move on. Thank you so much, Steph. And we move on to almost the end of our agenda, to the other UMAC Vice President and editor of the journal UMAC-J, Andrew Simpson. The floor is yours. Sorry, it's very late, but
thank you very much, Marta. Yes,
you're not sleeping.
I've had extra strong coffee to keep me awake just for this moment. Yeah, I'll just report briefly on where we're standing at the moment with the journal, because there's been some big changes around the journal that the board and the editorial group for UMAC-J have brought about recently. Last year we had 2 issues, one of which was the collection of abstracts for the Kyoto meeting, and the second issue was the proceedings from the Miami conference the year before in 2018. This is the first time that UMAC has actually managed to put out 2 issues of the journal in 1 year. And this is going to become the sort of standard line of production of UMAC journals now on, because we're no longer publishing conference proceedings. We're no longer publishing all the papers from a conference in one particular volume, because nobody does conference proceedings anymore. We're essentially an open call journal now, and we're looking at doing 2 issues this year. That, of course, doesn't mean that your the things that you the things that you present at a conference can't be the basis for something you may want to contribute to the journal. And we certainly encourage everyone to do that.
Yeah, it's very important to say that.
And so anyway, we've essentially revised we might just move on to the next slide there, Marta. We've essentially revised the journal's editorial policies and revised the submission guidelines for people who want to submit an article. You can submit an article at any time. Have a close look at the guidelines before you submit anything. And we're looking at how we can improve the journal's profile and recognition. And the way to do that is to get the journal accepted by a number of journal indexing services, things like World Catalogue, directory of open access journals. There's quite a number of them. And basically, the more we can register the journal with, the more recognition we'll get. So that's the next sort of part of the work of the journal, is to, while we're putting out 2 issues a year, is to try and keep raising the profile of the journal. The other great thing that occurred occurred just recently was the publication of UMAC-J 10 in Chinese as a result of our partnership with Shanghai University Museum. Really excellent and productive partnership, and we're hoping that that will continue on and be extended, because it's a way of introducing and raising the profile of the work of UMAC in China. And China has a massive higher education system, parts of which they're globally ambitious, and it's something where we really must have a strong presence. So anyway, I'd like to encourage everyone to consider submitting an article. I know that we actually have enough material at the moment for the first issue for 2020, and those contributions are all being reviewed at the moment. So within a month or so, we'll hope to have them out and available through the UMAC website, and then we'll start collecting and looking at a second issue for 2020. So I've also set up a generic email address. So even if you've just got a vague idea of something you'd like to contribute, and you're not sure whether it will be suitable, then send me an email. The email address is there on that slide. Send me an email. I'm happy to discuss possibilities. Also, one other final thank you to the amazing Silvana Arrigo, who has formatted and set out our last few journals and done a fantastic job with that. Hopefully she'll still be available to do that same task for us this year, and look forward to hearing from you with possible contributions. Happy to answer any questions about the journal.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions about the journal? Here you can find the website, the link, and also you can email Andrew for more information. Anyone has stuff in the drawer, materials that are interesting about an exhibition, about, you know, sometimes original material. Where shall I publish? Where shall I publish? UMAC-J is the solution, you know. Just send it to Andrew. And
if you have a look at the website, the journal now has been going since 2008, and there is actually quite a body of work that's been put out in the journal over the years that represents some very, very interesting scholarship about museums and collections in higher education. So we want to sort of build on those great foundations and turn it into a proper sort of scholastic and professional journal. Thanks, Marta.
Perhaps we could do an anthology even, you know, for the 20th year. I'm just thinking about it now, an anthology.
Absolutely.
Why not, you know, kind of, it's difficult, but anyway, so thank you so much, Andrew. Okay. And then we move. Any questions in the chat? Yeah.
Marta, just a comment. Congratulations for the UMAC-G. And I see that now UMAC-G can be found through Scopus, you know, according to...
Not yet.
Because this is very, very, very important. Yeah, so everybody can find the paper, you know, even if they don't know the journal.
It's the difference between life or death in our world. Yeah. You know, it's the... It makes people attend our conferences, make people submission, but also progresses our field, our knowledge of our field. It's very important that we are at the forefront of, and come on, we are in a university. We know how these things work, peer review and so on. We're supposed to know. So it doesn't make sense that we don't progress more in that direction. But of course, it's demanding also from our members and so on. It's demanding. So we need help. We need good quality papers. We need good quality conferences. We need to move on to a different level. Okay, so next is the last topic. Thank you so much again, Andrew. the next is the last topic of our agenda. It's not the last, it's the one before the last. So we are going to have, is the point about next conferences. We are not going to have, as you know, the University of Sydney 2020, UMAC 2020 this year. So the next time we meet in presence will be next year in Germany at the Technical University of Dresden. I will give the floor in a minute to Kirsten Vincenz to present us. And of course, you know that 2022 is the general ICOM meeting in Prague. So that's settled, the dates are settled and so on. But we have had a proposal from David Ellis, the chair of the local organizing committee of UMAC 2020 in Sydney. We've had a proposal to postpone, so not cancel, postpone the Sydney meeting to 2023. Are you still there, David Ellis?
Yes, I am, Marta.
Thank you so much. And does the proposal still stand?
The proposal well and truly still stands. Today, our staff moved into the new museum, which will become the host venue. I'm not there because I'm actually in isolation, unfortunately, for another 2 weeks. But it's all going well. So we want to take all those ideas, all that energy that we were developing for the 2020 conference and move it into the space in 2023 if members approve.
Yes, I would very much like to lock Sydney for 2023. So I ask, is there any opposition that we have our annual general meeting 2023 in Australia, University of Sydney? No opposition. So it's unanimous. We're going to Sydney and official. We're going to Sydney in 2023 to see the beautiful museum and to see the spectacular university heritage of Australian universities. Thank you so much, David. So now I give the floor to our exciting local organizing committee of next year, the meeting with Universeum in Dresden. Are you there, Kirsten?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Now is the time.
Very good.
I give you the PowerPoint.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi to everyone. Well, I'm really glad to hear that we're actually going to Sydney and this is not postponed for, forever. So, but first we're going to be in Dresden, which is a new situation for all of us. We didn't really anticipate this, but now we're really happy to have you. Now, this is the first slide, new potentials, new challenges. Of course, we changed a little bit around with our topic because we do have new challenges. We are facing new challenges, and this is something we definitely have to address for the next meeting as well. As you know, this will be a meeting with UMAC and Universeum, the European Academic Heritage Network. We're really happy that this is happening in Dresden. The two networks, I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that we'll actually be able to have it real life and in person, but I will say a little bit more to that later. Next slide, please. So if you not have been to Dresden or Germany for that matter, here we are, pretty close to Berlin and Prague, only 2 hours away from those places. So there will be the opportunity to fly in from there too. So this is just to have a, broad idea to where we're at. Next slide, please. And we will be meeting at the Technical University on campus, of course, since we wanted to, see lots of collections. We have been founded in 1828, so we will be having our 200th anniversary soon. So this is also in preparation for all the things to come. I'm not going to say too much to the university, more for the conference. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what we want to talk about in Dresden. New potentials and challenges for university collections in research and education. This is our main topic. We would like to focus on all the potentials that are lying in our collections for research, especially education and teaching. This is what we would like to discuss with you. So we have 3 broad topics: collections as a resource for teaching and research, as I said, and then of course collection-based learning and research in the digital environment, which is something that we were really busy talking about also at our at the webinars, and I think people are really busy right now thinking about a lot of those things. So I think it's important to take this up and to talk about this as well next year in Dresden. And another topic which we find particularly interesting in terms of outreach is historic collections and artistic research. We have a gallery space at our university where we're showing a lot of those projects. So we invite artists to work with our scientific community here at the university and to develop projects of all different kinds. So this is what would be also something that, yeah, we would be interested in. Also, this is a new situation for all of us. We don't know how the things will be developing next year. And it seems like COVID-19 is not going away so quickly as we all hope for. So now we will be working on a hybrid format. So of course, we all would love to have you here in person, but we don't know if it's actually going to happen. So this will be a hybrid. So we were hoping that it's not only just sort of recorded sessions, but people will be able to participate in an online format. This is something we're working on as we go along, since we don't know what's happening. So we have to be a little bit flexible on that. Okay, next slide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So these are the key dates for what we're doing. Call for papers in October 2020. The website is already online, but we have to, provide some more information. Call for papers February 2021, and in May the review of papers and the program will be hopefully online by then. And the registration we will stretch pretty far along, because if it's online we have more possibilities with that. But of course, you will find all the information on the websites and you will be updated on everything that's going to happen next year. Yeah, maybe next slide. I think we can show the next already. So this is just for the fun stuff we'll also be doing. It's not only going to be about research and teaching, it's also going to be fun. We have an opening reception at the Technical University. And September 2nd, we will visit the collections, and we have an evening reception at the State Art Collections, which are our partners in this. I showed you there's one image of the green vault, and this is really, yeah. So we're going to see that there. And of course, we have excursions, all different kinds. So this is, yeah, hopefully this is going to be an interesting program. Okay, next slide. We will have also an exhibition before that. It's going to be about the tableau of knowledge. Of course, we also will distribute more information as we go along. We will dealing with those kind of objects that you see on the right, which are found in every university. So we're really glad to see what's going to come out of this. And next slide, last but not least, we'll show you a little trailer to show you what we all have here. Oh, the trailer?
Oh, no, I forgot to press the button. Play.
Press the button, yes. And then it should work. Right.
Thank you so much. Exciting.
Yes.
Super exciting. We're all going to be there.
Oh, well, I hope so.
Thank you so much. Any questions, quick questions for Kirsten, considering that the website will come and so on. So just a few, if you have any quick questions, please go ahead. I don't think so. So really wonderful job. Thank you, Kirsten, Vincenz, and also Jörg. He's here somewhere, I think. He didn't leave yet. They are our chairs, our hosts for next year. And thank you so much. Also, Universeum, Sebastian had to leave, but he said, he asked me to transmit that he's terribly excited. Let me say exactly what he says. Universeum is delighted to have the joint meeting in Dresden last year. Great opportunity for our communities to meet again, share our various experiences, and hopefully share also some social events. Thank you also to our hosts, super organized. And sorry, I cannot stay with you longer. So thank you so much. And to finalize our annual general meeting, the first ever digital, I'm asking if you have any other businesses. If not, then I would suggest that we present as a community a note of condolences for Lucho Repeto, director of the Museum of Popular Arts and Traditions of the Riva Agüero Institute of the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru, vice president of ICOM Peru and chair of the UMAC group in Peru, who died very recently. And that's the first note. The second note is a note of regret for the fire at the Natural History Museum and Botanic Garden, Federal University of Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte, Brazil. UMAC is in touch, in close contact with ICOM Brazil and also with the director of the Natural History Museum and Botanic Garden to see what help we can give. They're still at that time where they're re-entering the building and everything takes time, as we know from the other tragic example, also Brazilian, of the Museu Nacional at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. But still, I think it's important for us as a community to show our regret and solidarity to our colleagues in Brazil. I don't know if there's anything that, I don't know if Renata Mota, the president of ICOM Brazil, is here. I think not. She's also UMAC member, but I think she's not. Beto, do you wish to add anything about Brazil specifically? I think he left, probably. Okay, then if these are the business that I have to close. I thank you so much for your time, especially those that are, I'm very mindful of those of us who are, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and so on. So let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you also, Wenjia Chu, for preparing and managing all the registrations. Thank you also to the University of Lisbon for allowing us to use the Zoom platform. And thank you also to the board, the UMAC board, my colleagues and friends that have prepared this agenda for you. And that's it, I think. Thank you, and see you in Germany. Thank you so much.